Hi guys, welcome to the studio on this beautiful Friday. I'm so happy to have you here. I've been super busy in the studio, in the garden, and checking out what students have been doing online, so it's pretty exciting.
You turn your mic on. Oh well. Let's see.
It is not staying on.
Giving you batteries?
Let's get you some good batteries.
We can still hear you, it's just a little quiet.
Okay. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Wait just a second, guys. We completely did not register. Yeah, there we go. All right. I think we're all systems go. Yeah? Just a sec.
How are your bars on that mic?
Good. Very good. I think I'm all set. All right. Hi there, guys. Always some kind of little glitch going on. No matter how much we prepare, it seems like something's up. But yeah, so it was a great week. I had a student and her mom stop by the studio for a little bit this week, so that was super sweet. Love that. So before I get started today, I want to do a little show and tell, and I'm going to share a book that I super love and has actually had a tremendous influence on just my whole creative life. And it's by Eric Maisel. And I was fortunate enough to hear Eric Maisel speak at the IAPS convention a number of years ago. I was so excited to see that he was the keynote speaker of the kind of gala event there. And so this book is Fearless Creating by Eric Maisel. And again, it's had a great deal of influence on me. It's sort of akin to Julia Cameron's The Artist's Way. You might be familiar with that book. This one's maybe not quite as prominent, but I just absolutely love it, so check it out. Now I'm going to read this list from this book, and I read this list to every live workshop that I've ever done, really. And so I thought I would read it to you guys today. And I'll just kind of make some comments as I go along and how this list has influenced me and how it's important to me. So the list is on page 162 of this book, and it's entitled, What Working Means. And it says, please continue to work. And it's talking about the chapters. You can move on to chapter 5 on completing your work anytime you like, but do the work. Work through the dull days, the blue days, the catastrophic days. Please work on. Remember that your work entails all of the following. Okay, before I go any further, I want to say that the dull days, the blue days, the catastrophic days, we all have them. We're making art and creating in the midst of, conditions, experience. So we need to just kind of transcend all of that. And it's hard sometimes, right? Remember that your work entails all of the following. Working means holding the work. Working means hushing. Working means starting. Now, starting is pretty tricky sometimes, and so I have developed over time some very particular strategies for starting and making it easier for me to start. Working means mastering the disinclination to work. And I think that this is a really huge one. For me, I am such a big procrastinator. I would rather clean my kitchen floor many days, not all the time, but many times, than paint. Now, why is that? I have everything around me set up to help me to paint. I have a beautiful studio. I have family and friends that encourage me. It's part of my living. I love doing it. Yet I find myself procrastinating around it. I think painting is a brave thing. It's a hard thing. And that starting piece is probably the hardest part of that. So I have, over time, I feel like I have mastered the disinclination to work, but it's tricky. It is a tricky one. Working means working in the moment. Working means entering the trance of working. Working means appraising. Now, again, I think that this one is a tough one, and as I have gotten older and more experienced as a painter, appraising my own work is easier. But when you're first starting out, it is very difficult to identify what's not working in the piece. Now, one of the things that I really always tell my students is the first thing is to build on what is working and not beat yourself up for what's not working. And because I think what happens is you can get really stuck on those spots that aren't working, and then that's where you kind of run into trouble. So that appraising thing is tough. Working means choosing. Working means negotiating a maze. Working means living with chaotic mind anxiety. Working means ordering the work. Working means wrestling with the thing from the sea. Working, and now I used to think, oh, what's that mean? But what I do think that means is painting is messy. It's complicated. It's challenging. There's lots of moving pieces to it. And so just understanding that and being okay with that. So I have a little bit better understanding of that now. Working means manifesting drive and direction. Working means reframing the impossible as possible. Because I think when you put a I can't do that on something, then it is impossible. But if you do it one kidney bean at a time, one little task at a time, you can do just about anything. It's you know, of course I can't be an NBA star, but there's a lot of stuff that I can do that I think or did think was that I couldn't. Working means making and correcting mistakes. Working means waking up working. Working means working on a given day. And I think that this is such a huge thing for artists. We're all told, oh, well, I'm going to work when the creativity strikes me. No, creativity strikes you when you're working. And the fairies come when you're working. And I think that's the biggest key. Working means silencing distractions. Now these two go kind of together. Working means silencing distractions. Working means surviving disturbances. Silencing distractions is different than surviving disturbances. A disturbance is not when you decide to go out and have, party with your friends instead of painting. That's not a disturbance, that's a choice, and that you need to quiet. I do a lot of stuff in my life to quiet my life to make room for making art. Surviving disturbances, we all are in the same boat. We're all living humans with these bodies that we have disturbances around that. Working means loving the work, not hating it. Now this is also a really, really big one, because I think that it's really easy to pin your worth as a painter on one painting and then kind of throw it all out the door. But I have learned that the unsuccessful pieces are just as important and possibly more important than the successful ones. They are part of the whole swimming together of it. It's where you learn stuff, the ones that don't work. Working means providing your own warmth. And there are a lot of artists that I hear from that they haven't been encouraged. I've been so lucky to have mostly my entire life been encouraged and never told, oh, you shouldn't be an artist. But I know that that's not true for everyone, and probably not true for most people, most artists. But so learning to encourage yourself in even small ways is a very, very important part of the process. And I do that for myself now. Working means maintaining tension, always pushing yourself, nudging the edge of what you think, again, is possible. Working means working over time. Now, this one I think is super important for me. I've been doing a really long time, and I've stayed on a particular path, and I think that has served me in working and being prolific. And then the last one is working means surrendering. And then the last thing is good luck. So I love this book. I love this list. So there you go. Okay, so now, before I start my demo today, I would be amiss if I didn't talk about our brand new course. So I need to share a little bit more with you about our new workshop that we just launched last week, Adventures in Acrylic. And I really have to say this workshop is all about that, all about what I've been talking about, that extraordinary joy of being an artist and painting our hearts out. It's about painting anything and everything that you can think of, stuff that you might not have pondered that you could ever paint. You maybe thought you couldn't or you shouldn't, or that's silly or whatever. I think that this workshop just really puts on display the amazing versatility and fun of acrylic painting. And my students are already fast at work on the lessons. The response has been really pretty amazing. Lots of people, I guess, want to take a deep dive into acrylics. And really, it's kind of no wonder, because in the workshop, we paint leaves, we paint flowers, we paint kittens, we paint faces. So it's really, what's not to love about that? So there's over 14 hours of video, a 70-page study guide, and you can join the Facebook group. We have a Facebook group associated with it, and see all the fun, diverse work that your peers are doing. So it's really going to be a blast. It's really time to take the gloves off and paint lots of different subjects. And I just want to talk a little bit about acrylics, because I think that people get a little bit intimidated by them. The properties of them, the fact that they dry so fast, I think can be a little troublesome for students. And one of the things that I was really committed to about this workshop was really showing people the diversity of techniques. So I'm just going to show you a couple of these boards that we worked on. So I show you how to do 14 different techniques in acrylic, from more watercolor type techniques to more emulating oils, glazing, and pastel, wet into wet. So we did all this, and I show you how to do these on video. And not just that, because I think that it's super important as an instructor, and I'm really committed to it, is I show you, we go through all the lessons and we paint paintings together. I'm also talking about how to take these techniques that I showed you and really put them into play in the work, and how to mix them up together and use them effectively. So by the end of the course, you'll be on your way to being able to paint whatever you have, whatever your heart's desire. So it takes a little bit of practice, but I think by the end of the course, you'll find acrylics just as amazing and interesting as I do. So head over to paintinglessonswithmarla.com. There's a link in the description of the video here. Adventures in Acrylics is on sale for $110 for just over a couple more weeks, until May 17th. Yep. And it's $39 off right now, so it's a really good deal. And $15 in addition off for members of monthly pastelpaintinglessons.com. So you guys get a little extra perk. And we just released, or we're going to be released, and I should say, we added a bonus lesson on doing these little minis to the workshop. And that's going to be, that bonus lesson is going to be available sometime this weekend in the next couple days. So if you guys already have the workshop, don't submit a ticket just yet. It'll be there pretty quick. Okay, so it'll be on the course in a couple of days. But I just want to talk before I get painting, and then I'll get right to the demo, about doing these little guys. There's something so amazingly powerful about working small. And I'm a big fan, if you guys know about my pastel work, I'm a super big fan of working small. And again, working off, and it's kind of that daily painting thing. But why is that? There's something about doing small work that it's just not as intimidating. We're willing to bust out the materials a little bit more, and maybe we feel like, oh, we're not wasting as much. I don't know, but you can get so much mileage, and you can learn so much and get better fast by working small. So there's a new lesson in the workshop about doing these small pieces. So I think working small is a super powerful strategy for any artist. So love these.
And Marla, you bought those from the art store?
These?
Yeah.
Yeah. These you could these little panels.
They're just primed masonite, basically.
Yeah. They're cool. And you know what I also think is super awesome about them? Look, they're like little deck of cards, and they're not going to get messed up because they're acrylic. I just kind of love that. They make a good sound too. We were talking about sounds and smells a little bit before we got started today, and I like that sound. That's a good sound. That's a sound of like having done some work. I love that. Okay, so all right, so here we are. I'm a few more minutes in than I wanted to be, but we want to talk about waves today. So let's go over and look at my big wave painting here. Kevin? Yep. All right, Kevin, get me on the. Yeah, are we?
Yeah.
Oh, we are. Oh, yay. So I did this big wave painting a while back, and I just love it. I've been spending a lot of time with waves in pastel and acrylic, and just there's something about it. I grew up in Southern California, but seascapes and waves kind of weren't my big thing, but boy, I'm really getting into it. It's so amazing, the energy and the power of the waves, the feeling the weight of the water, and that the aroma, that kind of feel, the spray, all of that. And what's kind of so interesting about waves, they're waves, so they're random and they're not predictable. And the spray is random and not predictable. So there's something, so interesting about painting that. So today, the thing that I'm going to be most interested in capturing in the reference that I'm going to be using today is, of course, that crazy transparency, so beautiful, but also the energy and the motion of the wave. Those are the two things that I'm going to really kind of my intent. And I think it's important as a painter, like what is it that you're really after? And did you get that? So we'll see. Hopefully I'll get a little bit of that. All right, so let's get back over here to the palette here, and let me talk about what I'm going to use today. So I'm going to be painting on gesso board. It's a 16 by 16 inch gesso board, and I have prepared it by toning it with yellow ochre, just a real thin coat of yellow ochre. So that's where I'm going to start, and I'm going to be using this the same setup that I used when I did the peacock, the bead box. There's several different ways of storing your paint and also setting up your paint on your palette, and I talk about that in the workshop. So today I'm going to use this because I'm working kind of big, and I do happen to really enjoy a big glass palette to like really get some paint moving on. And this glass palette, again, I talked about it last week, but all this is a piece of glass from IKEA that is meant for a coffee table. And what's super good about it is this edge is smoothed off, and so it's not going to cut me. It's really nice. And I just took it, sprayed the back side with middle gray primer, a couple thin coats of that, and it's a really great palette. Okay, so there's that. So I'm going to just get started painting. I'm going to be using my fave brushes here today. Maybe I'll use a little bit smaller one, but this is that, I think it's a number, what did I say last week? Number 10, yeah, number 10 Princeton flat. And I love this brush. It's a synthetic brush. And I'm going to start my painting today. I'm going to just mix up a little paint and start a little sketch.
So hey, Marla,
Yeah.
did you finish that peacock painting?
I have not finished the peacock. I'm going to.
But the kitchen floors are clean.
But the kitchen floors are clean. Yep.
You know, my house is clean. I have to admit, I spent a lot of time last week in cleaning my house. It's not, you know, every now and then you got a clean house.
And
So, yeah.
most likely you'll just finish that on your own. You're probably not going to do that on camera, right?
I'm probably not going to do it on the camera. I am going to finish it though, because
Well, we can show it when
yeah, we
when
can.
it's finished.
I have in mind for that. I actually have in mind for that to do several of them. And so what I will probably do, and this is kind of that thing of starting for me, is I love to have many pieces, like maybe even up to 10 pieces started, so that when I go in the studio, I'm just like, you know, it's not like I'm starting. I don't have a blank thing that's facing me. I've got things at all different stages of the game that I can kind of poke into. I love that.
And just to clarify, the other painting that's on the wall there, right above your shoulder, that's
Yeah.
also an acrylic, right?
Yes, it is an acrylic.
But then there's one that's framed that's a pastel.
Yes, that I did a very, very similar, the same scene in pastel. Okay, so this is a square format, and so I'm going to be changing this up just a little bit. And I just want to, the first thing that I'm going to do here is just get, well, first of all, I'll decide, I think I'm going to get my horizon here. I need to straighten that out.
Do you want to get your hair up real quick?
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Kevin. And I probably won't finish this today either, but I'll get enough on there we can start to see it come together a little bit. So, all right. So I want to make sure that that's pretty good. And I just, again, that energy of this, and the course of this wave, what's happening here, just feeling what that is. Maybe a little bit bigger. There isn't much more to it than that, other than feeling that motion. And maybe that, I just want to feel that. All right, so now I need to get a little more serious about mixing some paint. And Kevin, I might need you to go get some paint for me, because I kind of, I'm all right now. But so so I'm going to start with the shadow part of the wave. So I'm going to mix up a few things and it comes some kind of strings of color. Oh, I know what I want. I've got a little of it, Kevin, but I might need it. Phthalo blue, phthalo green.
Phthalo green?
Yeah, there's in that other space.
All right, phthalo green. Anything else?
Yeah, it's in a tube.
Tube. Okay.
I've got a little here. But. So phthalo green is a color that I don't always put on my palette, but we're going to want that. It's so perfect. Why wouldn't I? So I'm going to get some of this going. I like the bead box because it's really a great way. That paint will stay nice for quite a while. I need to get a little more. This is kind of a first pass of color. I'm kind of staining the color in right now. I'm going to come over with more opaque layers as I go through the process, but right now I just want to get it going. So I'm going to come in with these layers. Thank you. I like this neutral gray. It's Utric.
And what do you use to slow down the drying time?
I don't use anything. I don't, but you can add a medium. It's a blending medium. There's a couple different things you can use, but I don't do it. I find that if I have enough paint going, I don't need it. I want that a little more neutral. So I'm kind of keeping this nice and loose right now. I just want to get a sense of the value relationships that I want to set up. Things getting, okay, so now here, so this part of the wave, the crested wave is all in shadow. So I need to make sure that it's dark enough in value.
So Marla, in the new acrylic course, you cover the Stay Wet palette, right?
I do cover the Stay Wet. I go over a couple different ways. I'm really fond of this kind of Stay Wet idea. I have a do-it-yourself method of that I used way back in the day that's really inexpensive from art school days. But yeah, we go through all that. Are we okay? Yep. Yeah. Okay. Getting a little color.
Yeah, my mic got switched to a different channel. I guess it's okay now. Back in action, I think.
All right. Okay. I'm gonna.
Every live stream comes with technical difficulties.
Yeah, it's funny. Just as much as we prepare and try to get it kind of dialed in, there's something comes up almost every time. Keeps life interesting. So there's a tremendous amount of color in this kind of neutral section in the foreground, and I want to get that in there. But the first thing that I'm erring on the side of the value, so I'm just really trying to get a sense of the value relationships. Now I'm going to be able to get those lights, those kind of sparkling lights, over the top of this.
So here's a question.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any particular environmental factors that would fade or damage an acrylic painting hanging on a wall in a room?
I don't think so. They're really pretty light fast, and they're so dang permanent. I'm not aware of any of that. You know, unless you're using like super inferior paint, I don't really know what that would be when it comes to acrylics. So they're pretty amazing in terms of their stability. Much easier to deal with than pastel in that regard. And you know, one of the reasons that I started, when there was a point at which I really wanted to spend time with larger pieces, and I want to look at this, and I really gravitated towards the acrylics for that.
And
Move this a little closer.
the center of the composition, is the center of this composition at the center of the canvas by design? So it seems like the crest of the wave is kind of in the middle.
Yeah, it is. I don't, you know, to be honest, I in this piece, it's not super focused on the composition, more focused on getting that transparency, getting the action of the wave. So in that regard, yeah, I mean, it is, but by the time it gets the spray in it and everything, I think it will work out. So I think it's fine.
And as far as brands of acrylics that you like to use?
Well, you know, the typical Liquitex Golden are, you know, kind of my go-to. I do use some Utric brand stuff too. I like that neutral gray. That's Utric. I guess Blick has a version of that as well. All right, let's just get a little something in there for that. But now we need to start getting what's around this so we can start really getting the sense of it. This background, I'm actually thinking of bringing the horizon down a little bit. So that part of the composition I'm not so fond of. And so what I want to do is I want to get I need a pencil. This one will do. Okay. So I'm going to come along. I'm going to lower this just a little. And I want it straight. Okay. So now I'm going to get that. That background is such an interesting color. I mean, the ocean behind it's this kind of charcoal color, but I don't want it to be without a little bit of something. So Payne's gray, a little burnt umber, Anyway, we'll start in. And I'm going to go over this line a little bit, and I'm doing that purposefully so that I'm going to come back in with the sky.
And do these colors stay true? Do they alter a little
Okay,
bit?
so acrylic dries slightly darker. So that's something to definitely to keep in mind. Just slightly. I'm gonna get over here and get.
And did you choose a yellow background for a reason?
Well, you know, that yellow ochre background is such a kind of traditional, kind of old school color to paint a ground, but I also think that it's gonna work pretty nice. So now I'm just coming in over this. Now I've got this dark line here that I first painted in, but that is okay because this is just my first pass. This is sort of this first pass is staining in, is essentially an underpainting. And after I get all these values and everything kind of established, I'm gonna go back over with thicker, more nuanced layers of paint. Now I'm going to come in and get that light spray, but I'm mixing up this buff and the white, and I've got some other color in there, and that's okay because again, I want to save some of this white for later. I want to have the opportunity to get some nice bright highlights in later. That's pretty fun. All right. All right, I'm starting to, I can start to feel it a little bit. You gotta like get to the point where you can kind of see your way into the painting. Okay, kind of second pass. I'm gonna switch to this guy, a little bit smaller brush. All right. I gotta get this doing what I want it to do. See, I've already feel like have been a little stingy with myself with the paint. And I don't want to do that. It's gotta kind of mix up enough paint. Right. Get that movement. There's this.
And you're using the water to clean your brush out, right?
I use the water to clean my brush out if I need to. I'm not adding very much water to the paint. So, but the best thing to do is have one bucket or container for cleaning and one for adding paint, adding water to your mix to alter the viscosity of the paint. That's really the best way.
And you keep some paper towels on hand each time
Yeah.
when you clean the brush out?
And I like Viva paper towel, but right now it's a little hard to get a hold of. The good Viva paper towel. All right, let's play with this a little bit more. I'm gonna come over that. Boy, that background water is kind of such an interesting thing. Okay, now I've got this nice dark, so I want to come in here with it. I'm starting to feel it a little bit. Now we can use I'm painting primarily alla prima opaque here, but at one point or another I may, I don't know if I'll get to it today, but there might be opportunities to get some glazing techniques in here as well. I see more purple in here. Yeah, something like that. It's really nice. So the workshop is you really get in there and paint all kinds of different things, different scales. It's one thing that I think is important too. The small work is amazing to do and I think super powerful, but also letting yourself do some larger stuff as well. Mostly in the workshop, we're doing kind of small stuff that's really manageable to do and allows you to really get in there and without a huge investment in time. So it's starting to come together a little bit. That's nice. I think the composition, it is super centered, but you know what? It's kind of a wave portrait. And in that sense, you know, I think sometimes it's okay to put something smack dab in the center when you're, you know, if you, as long as you say it like you mean it, I think it's fine. It's when we get kind of neither here nor there with something that it doesn't usually work. But if you kind of go all in, it works usually.
And for the workshop, we primarily stuck with about 8x8 and 6x6 panels.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But you did one. You do one small mini on camera.
Well, that's going to be released this weekend. That extra lesson.
Little extra lesson, yeah.
Yeah.
Look out for that.
Yeah. But don't put in a ticket yet. Don't look for it today. It's maybe not there quite yet.
Whoopsie. But
it'll be there. It's really kind of a good one, don't you think, Kevin?
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
The minis are really cool.
Yeah. I think. So I'm just getting a little extra color in here. I'm thinking, you know, I'm not going to get this completed, but what I do think is I think I would like to try to get some of that spray going, maybe get the rest of that, most of that kind of transparency in there. It'd be kind of cool to get.
And how do you keep from getting the colors contaminated when you clean out that brush?
See, they are a little contaminated, but to me that's an okay thing because when I'm not, you know, there are times that I want a clean bit of color and then I'll either get it out of the tube or I'll go in here. I have these popsicle sticks that I use and I'll get some out that's clean. But really, I'm really looking for that sort of optical mixing of color. I'm not most of the time going for a pure color. So doing it this way, dipping my brush in here, yeah, there's some colors in that white. Yeah, there's some blue in that red. It's okay. It's really okay. All right. So let's get in here. Back in here. Let's see what we need for this. And in terms of brushes, you know, like I said, if you watched last week, the peacock, it's funny, you know, us artists, we have, you know, I have tons of brushes in the studio, but usually wind up using just a few of them. It's not, I just have my favorites and I always gravitate towards them. So,
and we review that in the workshop.
Yeah.
We talk about brushes and.
Oh yeah, I go way into materials, very thorough review of the materials that I use, and there you have to find what works for you for sure. But you know, we know that I know that you guys, a lot of times people, at least they want to start with kind of exactly, not kind of, they want exactly what I have, and I get that. It's not necessary to have exactly what I have, what I use, but I understand the desire for that. So I try to be really specific about that for you guys.
And the workshop it's a standalone workshop with over 14 hours, right?
Yeah, it's over 14 hours of video, and a 70-page study guide.
And it's
which is-
comprehensive. If you buy it, it's nothing. We're not going to add anything onto it. It's not an ongoing thing.
No, it's not an ongoing thing. It's not yeah.
It's pretty thorough.
It's really thorough though, and there's the Facebook group where you can interact with me and other students, and I try to get on there as much as I can, but you can always get a hold of me as you're working on stuff. I want to get a little bit of that reflection going. The workshops, the standalone workshops, unlike the monthly subscription, the workshops don't go away. So you have access, lifetime access to that content. It's not ever gonna leave. As long as we have the internet and are able, you'll have access to that content. I'm just playing around with how that is in there.
And this is a kind of a very broad question, but what advice would you give on how to start out becoming a professional artist?
Paint a lot, and don't compare yourself to other people. Look at other people's stuff as much as you possibly can. Don't compare yourself to other people. Paint a lot and go at it at every angle that you can think of. That means, and if you have a kind of style that's good, a look that you're painting kind of revolves around, that's a good thing, I think. But you don't start out that way. I would just paint and try to get good, get better, always be improving, always push yourself, always be exploring different things, and stay at it. Don't get discouraged, because it can be discouraging. You can get, you enter shows or enter or try to sell stuff and you don't have success. You got to keep at it. Be persistent. It doesn't happen overnight. One time, I remember when I first started painting, it's coming together. Well, I started painting in pastel, and I was an illustrator for many, many years. I've been a professional artist, and I started doing some pastel landscapes. It was many, many, many years ago. And I was fortunate that I took my work to a little local gallery, and there was a local guy who was kind of an art critic. He wrote about art and whatnot, and he was kind enough to look at my work, and he was very nice about it. And he says to me, he says, well, it usually takes an artist about 10 years before they are get their style going. And I know that sounds kind of discouraging, and it did to me. I was like, no way, I'm gonna do it before 10 years. And you know what? It took me 10 years. So you just gotta be committed, wholehearted about it. That's one thing I would say. Be wholehearted. It's getting there. I like it. Okay, so now back here. So pretty much use the one brush. I like this brush. It makes me happy. And so I try, even though it maybe doesn't do everything, I try to get it to work for me. So.
What would you say about brush strokes when painting water?
Oh, water is so fun. First of all, water is not, like this. It's a wave, not a particle. So it's like it's probabilistic. It's not. It's random. So, you can play with it quite a bit. Just feel the energy of it, feel the motion of it. What's the water doing? What's the water? Where is it traveling to? Where is it coming from? How much weight does it have? How much power does it have? What does it smell like? What does it feel like? All that stuff. And then bring that into your brush strokes.
So, Marla, would you recommend galleries, exhibitions, or Instagram to sell paintings for someone starting out?
All of it. Just all of it. Try all of it. Do all of it. Do everything you can. Being a professional artist is no joke. It's hard. There's no two ways about it. So you got to go at it in as many avenues as you can. The thing about it is that I think that you think, you have to, there's a buyer out there for your work, someone that's going to resonate with your work. So what you have to do, it's not about whether your work, you want to do good work, but it's not so much about that as it's getting eyeballs on your work. It's because you have to get the right people to see your stuff. So how do you do that? You have to have lots of ways for people to see your stuff. Nowadays with the social media and the internet, it's so much easier. So you can. So one of the things that I recognized really, really early on about being a professional artist, your list it's way more valuable than your paintings, your painting inventory. It's way more valuable than any equipment. It's more valuable than your books. It's the most valuable thing about if you have an art business is your list of people that like your stuff. And keep that list, and everywhere you go, you get people's email. Every event you do, every studio show, any way that you can get the name of the people that like you, that like your stuff, and keep track of it, and don't lose it. And that's and then connect with those people as much as you can. And I do that, but I do it, and I don't want to bug people. I just want to say, here's what I'm doing, and here it is, and that's it. That's what I continue to do, and do it in because it's obnoxious, right? All the emails and stuff. You don't want to bug people, but you want to show people what you're doing.
Yeah, and in Portland, a lot of people hang paintings in cafes and salons and bars and places like that.
Yeah, you can do that.
Yeah.
Now, I have an opinion about that. My opinion is people buy art in places they're expecting to buy art. And most of the time, they're not expecting to buy art in a coffee shop. That's not to say it doesn't happen, but and this is, kind of a thing, in my opinion, I don't want to tie up inventory that I could otherwise sell or get out there in a different way in a coffee shop to decorate the coffee shop, or a doctor's office is even worse. A coffee shop's good because you're going to get new public in and stuff, but like a doctor's office or some place like that, they want your art and they want it free. They want free decoration. Yeah, I know that's mean, but I don't want to do that. I want to put my art in places that that it has the best opportunity to sell. So that means the best opportunity. It could sell in a doctor's office. I'm not saying it would never happen, but it's unlikely or less likely. How's that? But that, again, you know, that, all of that is just my opinion. But my opinion is informed by a little bit. Been doing it a while. All right, that's coming together nice.
So there was a question just to clarify about the dirty water. So
It's dirty now. It'd be better if it. So right now I have another bucket. I'll go get the bucket. I should have put it up there before because I get lazy too. I try not to be lazy about anything I'm doing.
So if the water gets a little dirty, you just swap it out with some clean water.
I swap it out. We don't happen to have a sink out here in the studio, so it's good to, if I'm painting an acrylic out here, I have buckets sitting around that are full. So now I've got the dirty one and the clean one. So now this brush is pretty clean. If I want to mix this with some paint, I can do it. Okay, a couple things I want to do before I finish up here today is I want to get a little bit more gradation in the sky, and then I'm going to play with that spray a little bit and get a couple highlights in, and then I think kind of be on our way. I like that. All right, just a little bit of a gradation in the sky. Okay, I like that sky. I like that color. That's yellow ochre, teeny bit of green, a teeny bit. That green is super pigmenty, so I don't want to add too much. I want a little bit darker, maybe a teeny bit more green. Just add it incrementally so you don't. There we go. Ooh, that's such a pretty. That's really pretty. Yeah, that's what I want. So this gradation down here to the horizon, it's a little bit lighter on the horizon, is going to pull the area of interest down, which is, you know, what I want. That's the goal here. So, whoop. So maybe now I want a little bit lighter. Marry those two together.
And how do you dispose of the dirty water?
The dirty water goes in the sink. Yeah. There's no, you know, there's really no other way. You could put it down the toilet. I mean, you know, I don't put it in my plants or anything like that. It's plastic, guys, so so blending, so what I did just now, is I mixed up the couple different versions of this sky, the value, and then I pulled them together. And I mixed up enough paint so I had plenty to do the whole job, and I could easily go in there and do it. And that's, you know, why it is pretty important to have enough paint. All right, so now I'm getting this mixed up here. I'm going to come along, I'm going to give myself a nice area here to mix up some white or almost white for that spray. Last time I talked about waste, paint waste. Don't think about it as waste, it's part of the painting. You are going to waste some paint, if you want to put it that way. And, you know, it's hard, especially if your personality is like, oh, I don't want to waste stuff, or I don't want to throw away stuff, I don't want to, all that. that's tricky. But it's just like, you know, when you do a painting that, or so a pastel painting, people say, can you reuse the sanded paper? Well, I don't. For one thing, washing off the paper isn't good because then you are putting that pigment, more and more pigment in the wastewater. We do want to avoid that if we can, even with this stuff. Waste, I don't think of it as waste. It's part of the paintings and the materials that from the things that didn't turn out. They are part of the ones that do. So I don't, you know, I of course I'm, you know, I make a living at it, so I can kind of justify it, so which I understand. But I do think that when you're maybe a student or just getting going, it's really easy to do yourself a disservice by insisting that you use, you know, every single piece of paper. And I think you gotta kind of let it fly a little bit. Okay, so now I'm getting some almost white. Get a little bit of water so it moves around. Make sure I have enough paint. And then this viscosity is king when it comes to acrylics. And I talk about that at length in the workshop. Okay, so let's see. What do I want to do here? What kind of action do I want? Maybe not quite so much. You could even come in here with a palette knife and get real impasto if that was, you know, something. I don't think I'm going to do that today. But that could be something fun. Get that it's you know, it's surprisingly hard to do random. It really is, because we're so pattern oriented all the time. So when I get done today, I wouldn't probably consider this done, but I feel like far enough along that it can kind of see the way into it. Gives you a good idea. And maybe come along and I don't know.
Would you ever use a sponge?
Yeah,
sea spray?
the thing that's kind of cool about acrylics is it's just amazing medium to play around with creative tools. And I talk about that in the workshop too. We don't go into that a whole lot, but it's certainly, once you get a kind of handle on the primary kind of more traditional tools, boy, the sky is the limit in terms of just playing around and trying some different stuff. It's really, really an amazing medium in that regard.
So are you done with the sky?
You know, I don't think any of this is done today. It's not done. But what I feel like is that the structure of it's pretty solid, and I like it. So that's cool.
So here's an interesting question. I know I'm not supposed to say that, but
Okay.
is there ever a time where you don't want to sell a painting because you like it so much and can't give it away, even if somebody wants it?
Sometimes I hang on to things because I want to look at it, because I did something in it that I really like. And so, or that it taught me something. And so therefore I'm going to hang on to it. I have had a few pieces over the years that I really liked. I don't like that mark. That I really liked, that I held on to, but then I wound up selling. And then I have a very even smaller number that I have kept and hang in my house. But that's like 5 out of hundreds and hundreds of paintings. So, you know, I give away stuff I like to give away paintings. And yeah, so all of it, all of the above, basically. Okay, I think that this is good today. It's good. The structure's there, kind of gets it. I think it's got that. So the two things that I was intending to achieve, or get that the quality, the sensation of the motion, and that transparency. And I think pretty much have that. I don't consider this painting done, but it's well on its way. It's got that foundation. So the things that I would want to do is get a little more sparkle down here, I work on the shapes and the edges, probably play with this spray a little bit. I think this horizon needs to be cleaned up. Maybe the sky needs another layer. So just probably more paint, more paint. But yeah, so make sure you head over to the website, paintinglessonswithmarla.com, and check out what we have there. So Acrylic, Adventures in Acrylic is on sale for just over 2 more weeks. So make sure you head over there, check it out. And there's a sales page so you can see the projects and what's happening there. And let's see what else. Yeah, so those of you that have purchased it already are going to get that bonus lesson within a couple of days. So you can check that out too. Okay, you guys.
We have one important question that I'd love for you to answer. In the course, do you list the colors in your palette?
Yes, we list specifically. So each project is a tiny bit different, because every single painting, you may be going to want to, not maybe. Sometimes you want to mix up the palette, and depending on the subject, you maybe want to add additional colors. So in each project, I show you exactly what I used. You'll see the palette the whole time, just like you do today.
And you even have like a number. Each section is numbered in the PDF.
Yes.
So you really are very clear about what paints you use.
I am really clear. Yeah. So
don't worry, folks.
Yeah. No. Yeah. So yeah, but the thing is, it isn't 100%. It isn't necessary for you to have exactly what I have. But as I said during the demo today, I understand that you kind of do, because you think that might give you the best opportunity to be successful, and that's fine. If you want to get exactly what I have, go for it. But you don't need to. You can, in fact, use what you have on hand. Now, the other thing about acrylic paint, which is so cool, is that you can mix and match brands. No problem. You can even mix and match viscosities. So say you have the standard acrylics that, like this. If you have heavy bodied or the fluid acrylics, you can mix them together. It's just all about how much water you add or don't add. So you could make a heavy bodied acrylic paint, could thin it out so it's just as thin, and use it as a glaze, just like the fluid acrylics. So that is really, really cool about acrylic paint. So I highly encourage students to use what you have and you know, don't stress out about it too much. But I do understand the desire to have what I'm having, because you know it may or may not help. It might in fact help to have, you know, what I have, but not necessary. You can get going without that stuff. Okay. Is that it? Any more questions?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
And
All right.
you know, this video will be available on YouTube.
Yes,
You can watch it
the
again.
stream will be available. I think it pretty much pops up right away, so you can rewatch it.
And you
Yeah,
read
yeah.
from Fearless Creating by Maisel?
Yeah,
or
let
whatever?
me show you guys again. This is Fearless Creating by Eric Maisel, Maisel, PhD. Really nice guy too. So yeah, check it out. It's great. It's a great book. Yeah. Okay. All right. So I hope you guys have a really great weekend. Get to be creative. I have some fun plans for the weekend for a change. So all right. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next time. All right. Bye bye.